Next, we're going to look at solving with fractions and how understanding how to create a fraction into a whole number makes these problems really simple. So we want to think about what we can multiply 3/4 by to get 1, because we know that when we're solving an equation, our goal is to get to 1x. So we have to think about what 3/4 can multiply by to create a whole. And the answer is we can multiply 3/4 by the reciprocal. So 3/4 times its reciprocal, 4/3, would equal 12 over 12. And we should know that 12 over 12 is the same as a whole. Alternatively, you can think about cross-canceling, and everything would cross-cancel and create a whole, create 1. So if we look at this next problem, what can we multiply 4/9 by to create a whole? And the answer is we can multiply it by 9/4. So 4/9 times 9/4. Again, if we look at cross-canceling, everything cross-cancels, and we get 1 over 1, which is equivalent to 1. So let's look at how we can apply this idea to solving an equation. So here's the problem. 3/4 x equals 90. Now our goal is to get to 1x. That's always our goal. 1x is worth something. So that means I need to do something to this equation so that 3/4 becomes a whole. And so we're going to want to multiply by the reciprocal. We're going to take both sides of the equation and multiply it by the reciprocal, 4/3. Now on the left-hand side, we know that 3/4 times 4/3 creates the whole. So we end up with 1x. Over on the right-hand side, we end up with 90 times 4/3. And we can solve this in a variety of ways. I'm going to use cross-canceling to help. So I know 3 goes into 90 30 times. And so we end up with 30 over 1 times 4 over 1, which means x is equal to 120. Let's take a look at this problem. Now, often when kids see this problem, they think it's harder than what it is. So if I were to make this problem look similar to what we've been working with, it could be something like 2x plus 3 equals 19. So if we were to solve this equation, by now we kind of recognize that we would subtract 3 from both sides. And then we would end up with 2x equals 16. Now, the same steps are going to happen in this problem. Just because our coefficient is a fraction instead of a whole number doesn't mean we don't follow the same steps as before. Our same step in the solving this equation is to remove the 3 from both sides. So we're going to look at solving this equation, and we're going to remove 3 from both sides first. And these 3's cancel out and make 0, so I end up with 2/5 x equals 16. And now we just have to remember that we are going to get from 2/5 x to a whole x. And to do that, we would multiply by the reciprocal. And if we do something to the left-hand side, I have to do the same to the right. On the left-hand side, everything cross-cancels to create a 1x. On the right-hand side, I end up with 16 times 5/2. And we can look at doing, again, some cross-canceling. So from here, we could cross-cancel. 2 goes into 16 8 times. And that means that x is worth 40. So our answer to this problem would be x is worth 40. Let's look at another one. take a second and hit pause and try this problem on your own before you watch the video. Alright, so to solve this equation, we're going to start by adding 8 to both sides. When I add 8 to both sides, these 8's create 0. I'm left with 4/7 x equals 12. Now our goal is to get to 1x, so I multiply by the reciprocal. Everything cross cancels and creates 1. So 1x is equal to 12 times 7/4. From here, we just do our kind of regular solving with fractions. I'm going to cross cancel. 4 goes into 12 3 times, and I end up with x equals 21. So my answer would be x is 21.